Hey guys, welcome to A.F.C. Curtis. I'm your host Curtis, and today I'm super excited to have, I think it's actually my first ever international player that I got to interview here on my channel, and that's Mr. Jordan Brown of Cavalry FC. Jordan, how's it going today?
Not too bad, man. How's yourself?
Not too bad. I mean, how are you keeping? How are you conditioning during quarantine times?
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much the same as well. I know everyone in our team. We're on a schedule, and um, we're getting together a few times a week via video and things like that. So that's how we're staying in touch. Other than that, I like to do things with my family day to day, and a bit extras as well. Maybe try get out on the park. I got on the back of my place here and try get a few touches in. Other than that, but gotta be doing what everyone else is doing, just trying to stay safe and following the guidelines.
So how far into training camp did you guys end up getting before the shutdown?
Well, I know a few of the boys they were training before preseason even started, so they were really, really into it, and they were really, really fit. With me, I came a few days before the actual official preseason started, and that was 2 weeks in. We completed, and then I remember we even had a game postponed, a preseason match, but I don't think it was due to like COVID or anything. But yeah, that got postponed, and then from there, that was like our last kind of session where we did an inner squad, and I think it was on a Friday, and then we found out on the same day or next day that yeah, everything's gonna get postponed, and we're gonna wait to see what happens. And we never think it would have ended up going this far, right?
Yeah, I know we're currently recording this here in like the middle of May at this point, and it's been God, it's almost been 2 months since the
Yeah.
shutdown of preseason. That is crazy to me. Just in regards to preseason and maybe just kind of looking back at what last season was like, how obviously you only really had the 2 weeks of preseason this year, but how different was preseason and preparation this year versus last year, where you kind of knew everybody coming into this year? You kind of, at least for Cavalry, still had that returning core from last year, and maybe that extra motivation from last season and the build off of what you guys did.
Yeah, in terms of what you just touched on, in terms of extra motivation, that was really the talking point from everyone in the media and stuff like that. How we're going to bounce back and how we're going to go about things this season. So, the line that everyone labeled us with was like unfinished business. So for us, it's not like we're focusing on just one team or anything. We just want to win it. Same as last year, we wanted to win it, and we tried to win everything possible, all our games, etc. So that's how we went into it with our mindset. And then secondly, in terms of training, it was a bit different because last year was a longer preseason, probably the longest preseason I ever done actually. So this year they modified it and they made it a bit shorter. With our season going to start, it was going to start in April the 11th, I believe, against Forge. So that was like 2-3 weeks neat, probably even 3 weeks ahead of last year's schedule when we played on May 4th. So you had to be fit coming in, like I wouldn't say match fit, but definitely training fit or preseason fit. And yeah, we had to be ready to go. So everyone this year was really ready to go, and it's just a shame that everything happened the way it did.
Yeah, and and there's obviously, like I said, there's a returning core of players this year, but there were a few players that maybe didn't return from last season. Out of the players that departed the club in the off season, you got Malonga, you got Boucher, just to name a few. Which player in your mind will have the biggest impact of him leaving your squad for this year?
Well, for me, it's hard to say. Me personally, I'm a striker, so I'm gonna believe in my own abilities, and I'm gonna say to myself that although we had two great strikers last year, being Malonga and myself, this year you can say maybe one less, but then we've added another striker who's got a proven goal record in the country he's played in. So it depends how that situation plays out. I believe that I'm gonna do what I can on the pitch. And then you have a centre back, which is Joel Waterman. That's probably our strongest position on the pitch. We had 4 solid centre backs last season, being Zats, Jay, and Mason, along with Joel. So even though Joel is a great player and he provided a lot on the ball for us last season, I think it won't be missed as it will be, in my opinion, for in terms of Julian, because Julian, he was our set piece provider, and he created a lot of goals for us and a lot of goal scoring opportunities. So you could argue who's going to be that guy this year for us replacing set pieces. Maybe we got someone coming in that you guys have not heard of yet, or maybe you've heard of him, and you haven't seen him play, or it could be one of the players you've seen play but just never got the chance to show you guys what he can do from set pieces and creating chances, right? So I think that's like the mystery question: who's going to replace us in terms of like set pieces and free kicks and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll tell you probably Julian.
Yeah, I think it's tough to kind of single out one player, but I think Julian, to me, who I think was ranked, if I'm not mistaken, top 5 in the One Soccer rankings from 2019, and for me, I thought was one of the best midfielders all around, especially offensively going forward in the CPL last year. And I myself was shocked he did not even return to Cavalry this year. I thought he was one of the first players to be re-signed, to be honest with you. He's a first ballot All-Star. I think he was too on the fan vote for last season.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and in regards to last season, 2019, what was the driving factor that led you guys to going and having that great run, to being essentially the best team, I think, in the league last year? What was that, secret sauce, the secret recipe there, the engine that led you guys to being so successful?
Well, really and truly, I think it kind of started with the top to the bottom kind of thing, or if you want to say everyone's an equal playing field type of thing. Everyone did their role, I think the management, being the staff and the gaffer, assistants, and whatever have you, they did a great job building that squad together. And like everyone says, it was like fantasy football last year. You didn't know who was going to provide you with what. You have a salary cap. You can't just go get a proven player like that. You might have to take a risk on a younger player. Especially like myself, I was like 22, so not really done it professionally yet, proven. So like they took a gamble on me, I guess, and like they could have seen their rewards in that way. But yeah, like I think they've done a great job in terms of that way, and in terms of on the pitch. On the pitch we had such a mentality that every game we go out and we give it our all, and we want to win every game. Doesn't matter if it's against a team who was bottom of the league like Halifax. I think Halifax caused us a lot of problems last year, so we knew that when we verse teams like that, we have to be on our A game. So for us, I think our mentality showed when I think we're the only team who went there and we actually beat them. So this league's not it's not like a walk in the park. You have to get out for every game. So I think that's something that got drilled into us, and we knew because there could be someone who can come in and take your place. There was about 16, 17 of our players last season where they were regularly rotated. So I think that's like you could say our secret sauce this year, or last year, sorry, and this year I think we got even more players. So from 17, I think we've gone up to about 19 in terms of players who you'd see like that guy can be a star in our team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. What was it like playing under Tommy Wilden Jr. last year?
Yeah, he's a good manager. He knows how to get the best out of you. I said it in a different interview. He's a great manager in terms of dealing with the squad and the morale in the team. He knows how to when we need to keep it, when we need to get up for something, he knows how to get us up for something. And when he knows not to let us get too carried away with winning a lot of games or something like that. So I would say like playing under him, he's a good man. He's a good man manager, and he knows how to get the best out of his players.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that a lot last season, and I think rightfully so. He was the manager of the year for sure last year. He definitely deserved that trophy, or coach of the year last year in the CPL.
Yeah.
Speaking of the inaugural year last year, 2019, what was your favorite moment for you in 2019?
In terms of the team or the season? For me, sorry, personally.
You could do both.
I think as a team, I think it would have to be beating the Whitecaps. I think beating the Whitecaps was like a big moment. In terms of Canadian history, the CPL. It's the first year. They were really banking on one of our teams basically to beat the MLS team to basically put this league on a map. So people didn't ridicule us, say, "Oh, yeah, they're just a little league in Canada or whatever." So I think that was big stuff. That was like stuff that's bigger than us and will always be bigger than us. Me personally, I would say the first game. Scoring and everything personally, just for the fact that I went through a lot prior to that, coming to that moment, for like a year prior to that in football. So that was a big moment for me that if you keep persevering, then you'll get what you deserve in football. If you keep working hard and just keep believing in yourself. So for me, I would say me personally, that was like a big moment that gave me a lot of gratification.
Yeah, and you touched on the team moment. They're beating the Whitecaps. Like I remember watching that game, and I was just like, I believed. I didn't know for certain that we're gonna have a CPL team beat an MLS team last year until Cavalry started getting on that roll in May and in June. And then after June coming into July, I was like, okay, if anyone was going to beat an MLS team, it's going to be Cavalry. And Vancouver too, they were kind of not in the best form. And then watching you guys play last year against them, I was like, wow, like they just put the league on the map for sure. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. The CPL, these teams, they don't play around. They're out for blood, they're out for results, and you guys proved that. And even against what was it? Their Montreal Impact in the semifinals, I thought you guys were in it. I really was like, till the end, I really thought you guys were going to be able to beat them and even play TFC in the finals, which would have been just a crazy final.
Yeah.
But I mean, no matter what happened last year after you beating the Whitecaps, I mean, that was after you guys beat the Whitecaps, so that was huge. That was huge for the league. You guys' team was certainly one of the better teams in the CPL and really a trendsetter for CPL, I think, for years to come, which is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Now, with the CPL, what are some characteristics of the league that you like? Now that you've had a year in the league, you kind of been around. You're in the Canadian game now. You've kind of felt what it's like playing in the CPL for a season. You're coming to your second season. What's one or even a few characteristics you like?
Okay, so I'd say on and off the pitch, just the way everything's organized, especially for a first year, it was organized quite well in terms of, well, for our club. I can only speak for our club. In terms of our travel, in terms of, like day-to-day stuff, it was really like regular for me being from a background that I've been from and organizations I played for. So it wasn't like I was coming into like some small club or anything like that. I see this as a big club and something that's here to stay type of thing. And on the pitch, what surprised me is how like I thought in the moment, I was like, so if this league never happened, what would all these players be doing? Like it's actually crazy that the amount of talent that would have gone to waste, like if a league like this didn't happen. So like you can say today, Estevez went to I don't know what the team's called, but Holland First Division team. Like if this league didn't happen, then does Estevez does he elevate his career, or does Borges go to second division Belgian club, or does Joel Waterman go to Montreal Impact and play under Thierry Henry? It's like all these things. Like, do all these things happen if the league's not here? So me personally, I'm just surprised at like how many talented players there are, and like just why wasn't this done sooner? Like, I don't know. And yeah, just I didn't know. I knew about the national team. I knew a lot of names who played for the national team, and I knew people personally and stuff like that. But in terms of the actual like domestic demographic and everything, I didn't know that there were so many talented players, and even look at our team and stuff like that. Like, players getting called up to Canada, and would they have got called up to Canada without this league? You know, so that's one thing that surprised me.
So you think that's what was your thinking before you came to CPL? Like, you think of soccer in Canada, what was the first thing that pops in your mind, or what was maybe how you viewed it before you came, like from outside looking in right before you came in?
Yeah, I remember where I was in terms of like when I received like this contract and everything. And at the time I was thinking, oh, Canada, like, is there even, is this the first league? Is this the first time they're doing a league or anything like that? I was confused, you know. I never heard of players playing domestically in Canada. I heard of like USL, MLS, everything like that. But Canada, like, maybe I was just blind to everything that was going on. That's what I thought. Maybe there was something, I just didn't know of it, but there wasn't. And then obviously, as I said, I knew the national team. I knew like players who played for them, and players like who I know and to name and stuff like that. So like, I just thought that the best Canadian players, they just go play somewhere else, you know. And like, there was no slight on Canada or anything. I just thought that's just how it went, you know. Some countries, that's how it is. Like, you see some players from some countries, they don't really stay in their parent country. They always go and play somewhere else. It happens a lot in Europe with players from certain types of countries and stuff like that, or a lot of African players, they always go play in Europe and things like that. South American players, they don't stay. Brazilians, they all go to Europe and play. I thought it was the same thing, you know. So that was like my mindset before, and I didn't know there was so many. I just thought the best is the ones I knew, and that's the ones who go and play somewhere else. Yeah.
Now, before I let you go here, this is the final question here. So, from a player's point of view, what is the next thing the CPL as a league has to do now to get the level of the league, of the CPL, to that next level in the CONCACAF? What is something that the league has to do, whether it's on the field or off the field, to get the CPL to not really be taken a little bit more seriously, but to be viewed almost in the top levels, like Mexican soccer, like the US soccer, like MLS, Liga MX? What's that next step from your point of view?
There's probably about 3 things that I have in my head. One, it's a new league, so it will take time, but eventually there needs to be a large push in hiring the salary cap, because if you want to get like bigger international stars to come to your league, I think it's good that how they have the international spots, because it still gives a lot of opportunity to the Canadian guys. But in terms of like the international spots, in terms of growing your league and, you know, making everyone take it very seriously, then you need to like grow that. But that takes a lot of time, and you know, like, it's a project, so you can't just go into that. I don't expect them to, so that would be like a 10-15 year plan type of thing. And then you would get a lot of, you know, people being more interested in from the outside in. Secondly, I would say, sticking with international, I would say shine a bit more light on international players, because we do bring something to this league, and I feel like we do also, even though it's not like a massive profile that you're getting at MLS, but you'll still bring a profile that players, I know a lot of players in England and Germany who I've played with, and because I've played here, they've asked me about the league and stuff like that. So I'll say probably put more spotlight on that to attract other players to the league as well. And thirdly, I would say, if you play a younger team, or you give, obviously you want to win, so you're going to go with experience and players who are ready. But I think just filtering in younger players. So maybe if you increase the squad a little bit, maybe by 1 or 2 players, then you can have 1 or 2 younger players in your squad, and that's 1 or 2 younger players being given opportunity, and maybe they're training with the first team every day, which they wouldn't have done, and then maybe they get 1 to 5 games a year that they wouldn't have got if the squad wasn't increased. So I would say if you have younger players, then you'll look at in the next 10 years, say for example, these players who are like 17, 18, and in 10 years they'll be in their prime because they started in this league and they've ended up doing really well, and then you'll get a better national team, you'll get a better domestic league and things like that. So I feel like sticking with the younger players. To be fair, I feel like a lot of clubs are doing that, so it's not like they're not doing it. They are doing it, but I feel like just really focus on that. And I have a 4th point actually. Probably I don't know how everything's managed down at youth level. So yeah, players, they get to this stage which is professional, but how do they get here? I don't know. And I don't really know how they're being coached. But I can see there's a few players who are young, who are like very skillful and stuff like that. But then I feel like there needs to be a bit more in terms of that kind of like Borges style of play, because that's what the bigger clubs in other countries, that's what they like to see. That's the type of players they go for. So I think, and those are the type of players that change games as well. So I feel like if Canada create more type of those players instead of always just focusing on physicality and all of that type of stuff, then I feel like the league will be more attractive in 5-10 years to come, and also you create better national team and domestic leagues. But yeah,
those are interesting points that you mentioned there, because those aren't really points that I really get a whole lot of that same answer that you gave. I mean, the answers you gave were really from that international perspective. Like, I liked that point number 2 about promoting international players. And I definitely see where you're coming from in that. And I think that too would also help the level of the league, because like you said, spotlight those international players, then bigger clubs can come in and possibly pick them up in the transfer market, which also will help people abroad maybe look at the CPL in a different light. So I definitely agree with your points there. But I want to thank you today, Jordan, for joining me here on the show. I had a great chat with you. I think you have a great soccer mind. So I definitely, if you will, I would love to have you back on the show not too long in the future there. But do you want to plug your social media or anything?
Okay, so my Instagram is Jordan Antonio Brown. You'll find the same name on my Facebook page as well. And also the hoodie I'm wearing is my own brand, Footy 258, which is there to basically, give football minds professional experience to the younger demographic, players, kids who are looking to come up in the game, looking to basically do what I'm doing now. So basically to give you insight to how it is and what to look out for.
Cool. Make sure you follow this guy. This guy's a superstar. He's going to have another great year when we finally do get the kickoff in 2020, because it's going to happen. I still feel positive that we're going to get it this year. But other than that, guys, make sure you throw a like here for this video. Make sure you hit that red subscribe button and the little bell notification so you can get notified each and every week when I drop a brand new episode just like this one, with some great player interviews like this one here with Jordan Brown. And other than that, guys, you can also watch my content over at northernstarting11.com. We'll have a link for that website down in the description below. Until next time, stay safe and we'll check you later.